最近おじいちゃんいるから違うけど久しぶりにバイブスあげてこうウレソンできるスイカ
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you demanded it, viewers, with the greatest comeback in shonen history. Today we're going to be talking about the second half of the Bleach Soul Society sneak entry arc. And if you want us to continue to consume Bleach, then go ahead and like the video, head on down to the comments to let us know what you think of the podcast, and subscribe to the channel for more episodes of the Castaway Anime Podcast and other videos. Now grab a drink, kick back, and listen up, because this might take a while.
I actually want to give all you listeners at home fair warning that most of this podcast is going to be us lusting after Yoruichi. This is going to be this entire
this
show
is the
going to be
Yoruichi Simpcast.
This podcast is the desert bus of horny posting. It's going to last forever. It's gonna be a long ride.
Yeah, you see, whatever the runtime of this podcast ends up being, it's just there's no intelligent discussion here. It's just all the ways and all of the horrible, possibly illegal things we want to do to Yoruichi Soryuin or whatever her last name is.
Oh god, we're starting off with a possibly illegal. That's a good sign for this show.
She's so fucking hot, dude.
Okay, true. But you were getting on my case for this yesterday in hosts only chat. Momo Hinamori.
She's not that cute, dude.
She's adorable. What are you talking about? She's so pretty.
Of the Bleach girls, she is on the lower end of the.
She's on the higher end of the spectrum. What do you mean?
No, dude, fucking whatever the fuck his name, the guy who fights Chad, that captain. His lieutenant is cuter than Momo. I think
to be fair, her personality is fun, but Momo's so cute though. You're just wrong. If Neon's objectively wrong, all you listening need to back me up and comment that Neon's wrong. Come on, I need to know someone else is out there with this opinion.
Viewers, give us your Bleach girl tier list down in the comments of all the Bleach girls that have shown up to this point in the story.
You know what? That's a good idea. It's your obligation. If you're watching along with us, you need to post all the Bleach girls and how you would rate them. But yeah, that's about what this podcast is gonna be.
Tell me what his name is.
I'm Captain of Squad 11, Kenpachi Zaraki. I'm here to fight you to the death.
Now, here's the real question. Is she hotter than Kukaku?
No.
Momo, alright, is Yoruichi hotter than Kukaku?
I'm gonna also go no.
Goddamn, really?
Yeah. Kukaku is so hot.
I think I prefer Kukaku's aesthetic, but I feel like through just exposure therapy, Yoruichi is just going to, shoot up the rankings, if only because she is definitely going to be a more prominent character throughout the series.
Okay, so
Kukaku,
maybe depending on the scenario, if I see her enough times, she'll overtake Kukaku. But for now, I'm rocking.
I'll give you a light spoiler.
Nation.
This is not the last time we were going to see her naked like that.
Let's go!
Alright, well, now to talk about the actual show, I guess that fucking doesn't matter at all. We're done with the sneak entry arc.
Yeah, so these final 10 episodes take us all the way to get into Rukia. And it's a lot of the same sort of stuff we had in the latter half, or rather this specific block is very similar to the latter half of the last block of episodes, where it's a lot of fighting. Not a lot of progress happens in each individual episode, but when you're binging it all in a row, feels like, we're doing all sorts of stuff, having emotional highs, emotional lows, the whole shebang. Someone loses a fight in this episode. That's the first time, if I recall correctly, that's happened to one of our heroes in Bleach.
Well, I mean, Ichigo got his ass kicked by Byakuya the first time.
Oh, true. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I'm stupid. But The first time in a while, I'll say, or rather, the first time of this arc.
Yeah, definitely first time a side character has lost a major fight, unless you want to count like Uryu losing to Renji off screen.
The thing is that I constantly brag about being unspoilable, but I remember that tweet where Ichigo, it was a screenshot of Ichigo saying, "Chad never loses a fight," and I remembered when I saw that line, I flashed back to a tweet of someone saying, after this point, Chad pretty much lost every single fight he was a part of, and I'm like, damn it, he's gonna lose the next fight, isn't he?
Not only that, he's gonna lose every fight from here on out.
So despite touting myself as spoiler immune, yeah, very unfortunate. Chad's gonna have a rough time from here on out.
The life of a shonen side character.
Although here's something interesting I do want to discuss. This is the first block of episode with a filler episode. And I'm interested to see, like, having seen the very first filler episode of Bleach, what are our thoughts?
There are no thoughts. I skipped it.
You said, hold on.
I
You
thought
said
we
were
agreed
gonna
to
watch
skip
it.
I thought we agreed to skip all filler.
You said a while ago that for this block of episodes, we'd watch the filler because it's just one episode, just to have a sample size, a sample.
Did I
Bruh.
say that?
Yeah, you did.
I must have completely forgot then.
Unless I'm
to-
gaslighting you.
You must be, because even if I did say that, I saw the preview for the next episode, and I saw it wasn't even like a filler episode for the gang in the Soul Society, like sneaking around, maybe having a non-canon filler fight. We're cutting back to Ichigo's siblings in the human world and dealing with the fucking bwahaha guy again. And so I was like, no thanks.
Okay, well, since I subjected myself to the filler episode, I feel legally obligated to talk about how bad it was. And how
Yeah,
I'm
I'd
glad
imagine
we're
it was
skipping them all from
a
here
pace
on out.
killer.
I mean, on its face, it's a boring episode, but it being inserted in the arc is like the worst possible timing. I don't know why they did it like that, because they clearly weren't like super far or like super close to overtaking the manga, because there's still, a bunch of episodes that, they make from here on out without there being any filler. So I'm not exactly sure why they chose now to insert a filler episode when you could put it at like a way better point in the series. But here's the thing. I don't even mind cutting back to Ichigo's sisters if it were like maybe not a narratively relevant episode, but an emotionally one where we get to see, catching up with Tatsuki and see how, she's missing the gang because they're all gone. Ichigo's sisters
Lamenting on how Tatsuki got cucked from having
Yeah.
the powers that Orihime and Chad have for no
And,
good reason.
It would be like a sort of melancholic episode, I guess, that sort of, puts into perspective the situation that Ichigo and the gang are in a new light from the perspective of people who miss him and who want him to return. And it would then, up the stakes, because, hey, if Ichigo gets caught, these people are going to be sad. Tatsuki ain't going to be having a fun time if that happens. And that would be like a perfectly good episode. It's some random fight with the Bohaha guy, who I remember liking in episode 10. He is just obnoxious in this one. He is just there to be like a complete moron who like shrilly shrieks at the top of his lungs. And they fight like this random hollow, bunch of different hollows actually. It's not good. There's this cat that they're trying to save. He's like this cat spirit, and
If it's not Yoruichi, I don't care.
True. It turns into a lion at one point and defeats the hollow. That got nothing out of me, actually. I was about to say it was mildly cool, but then I just flashed back to my deadpan expression while watching it, and I was like, yeah, Nah, that
you
got
turned
nothing.
hollow watching that episode.
I did. But luckily, every other episode of this block is at least fine. There's one other episode that I have a few issues with. The rest of it is still the good old Bleach Kino that we're used to.
Yeah, so I wanted to get your opinion because it seems like you are the bigger Bleach fan of between the two of us. How do you feel about it now? Now that we're one half done with the Soul Society arc at large.
I am more enthused with it than ever. The thing is, the problems aren't really going away, and at this point, it seems like they'll either never go away or Kubo will figure it out like late in the game because he's reusing all the same tricks. You know, okay, how many times is Ichigo gonna be brought to the brink only to suddenly discover some new bullshit power that he uses
Welcome to
then
Bleach,
get
baby!
all the power, all the soul resonance.
Listen,
Alright.
don't ask why Ichigo suddenly had the power to match and even like briefly surpass a captain of the Gote 13. Just accept that he just needed to have a conversation with his inner sunglass wearing sword spirit and his white demon self. And they just have had a little sword fight, and then suddenly he is now as strong as the captain. Don't ask if that's narratively satisfying or fulfilling in any way. Just accept it.
See, this is even more frustrating because I've seen most of Soul Eater. For some reason, I've never finished it. I need to get on that. But in Soul Eater, you know, people match with their weapons. Their weapons are alive, just like in Bleach, and that's like one of the main elements of the fighting. And there are instances where, you know, Maka and Soul are like they get. There's this idea that like they're both progressing their own goals while ignoring the others, and the way they reconcile that is like, you know, using this spell that makes them more likely to be angry, and so they blow up at each other and air all their frustrations only to realize, hey, we're still friends at the end of this, and now we know what each other is thinking, and like their bond is solidified through that. You know, they're resonating with their weapons. In Bleach, it's like the same idea, just done like not at all. Just not, because what I was thinking, right? So the weapon starts talking to Ichigo. He's like, my guy, you gotta do that soul resonance. We gotta, you know, and there's like this idea that Ichigo is like, this is his character flaw, that he was only seeing the weapon as a tool. And I'm like, what? But the weapon doesn't speak for like 90% of the show. He's only just now telling Ichigo, hey, I'm a person too.
When it's
you gotta see me as a
narratively
person."
convenient and when Ichigo needs a power-up.
See,
You're going
if
to
it
hear
were,
that
like, a
phrase and
thing-
internalize that phrase a lot throughout Bleach.
See, my if the weapon were like trying to talk to Ichigo throughout the show, and Ichigo was shown to be like kind of, you know, because he's kind of standoffish, and maybe, you know, he's not really caring much about the dude behind the weapon. He's just like, no, you just swing, just be a sword swing. You're a sword. Shut up. Don't matter. Probably not that bluntly, but, you know, obviously ignoring him. And then, you know, there's this idea that they're not really resonating. And then, you know, like maybe during this fight, he like ignores the weapon one last time, and then the weapon just ditches him. He's just like, fuck you. I'm done with this. I'm so sick of dealing with you. And Ichigo, you know, gets knocked down. Then, you know, in this moment of weakness, the weapon extends one last hand and is like, my guy, you've been ignoring me this whole time. And Ichigo's like, I have. I've just been a dick to you for like all this time. And they, you know, get up at the last minute and are like, okay, now we resonate, and we cock, we ball, and we resonate, and they, you know, defeat the big bad and whatever. That would be like emotionally and narratively satisfying. That would be like a struggle thrown in. But the thing that's sort of frustrating about this is that Tite Kubo clearly wants to have like character development for Ichigo. You know, he sees Ichigo, his boy, as like this flawed protagonist. But the flaws are introduced retroactively. where it's like, Ichigo, you never saw your weapon as a person. Well, the weapon didn't speak. How would he know? How would he know that he's like supposed to get along with the weapon and see it as a person when it doesn't talk? It doesn't interact with him. In the previous block of episodes, it's like, Ichigo, you've been scared. BB Teru, yay, Pitcher's scared. You gotta overcome your fear. You gotta be fearless. And that's like thrown in. It literally flashes back to like invent new past plot points in order to establish that Ichigo is like scared, and that's why he can't have all the power. Yeah, it's kind of cringe. It's kind of lame.
Yeah, the Ichigo as a character, I feel like his best moments and best and most interesting moments come in like very short bursts, and he's not like consistently engaging or like interesting as a character. My three most notable Ichigo moments that I enjoyed the most of them from this block of episodes were the flashback with Chad, where he comes to save him before his grandfather's amulet gets broken, and then he calls an ambulance using the thug leader's phone, and is like, how many ambulances are we gonna need? Let's see. When he starts counting all the thugs, and like, yeah, that many, and then gets into a fight on Chad's behalf, and looks like he's able to win. He's scuffed up, he's bruised up, but he's giving a smiling thumbs up to Chad, and he's like, hey, bud, if you're not gonna fight for yourself, fight for me, and I'll fight for you, and we can become homies.
That Chad flashback was like the best characterization this show has had in a while.
Yeah. The second best Ichigo, the other two are when he is like seemingly getting attached to the hollow mask that keeps appearing on his person, absorbing deadly blows. It happened first with Renji, and then with excuse me, fuck, and then with Kenpachi. And the first time when Ichigo finds it after fighting Renji, Hanataro he's like, hey man, this is giving off some bad juju. I don't fuck with this, and then throws it into the sewer to throw it away. But then it appears back on his person later to absorb that final blow that Kenpachi landed on him to save his life. And then when Yoruichi's like, hey, fucking hand over the mask right now, and Ichigo's like, no, fuck you, it's my lucky charm, I'm gonna keep it, it helps me, I'm meant to have it. She's like, no, you gotta give it over now, end of discussion, or I'll like take it from you. And he's like, all right, fine, God, here, take it. So like something's going on with Ichigo, because this is like, outside of Rukia, this is like the only thing Ichigo like has wanted to hold on to. So, something fishy's going on with that mask and him.
Yeah, that is a mystery bubbling in the background. Although I do find it kind of funny how like the mask absorbing blows or whatever is kind of like also retroactively making Ichigo like less powerful. Like Tite Kubo's like, oh no, wait, no, he shouldn't be able to survive that. Okay, quick, it's the mask. The mask did it.
That's what the mask is. That is, in fact, what the point of the mask
is.
So then, yeah, the other final moment is the final episode of this block where Ichigo has come to save Rukia, and he's like, he's being the cool, noble shonen guy at first, but then Rukia immediately revert back to their classic dynamic of fucking with each other. And just like, all right, hey, from now on, Rukia, I'm ignoring all of your opinions. I'm gonna save you whether you like it or not. And Rukia's like, what the fuck? I'm the rescuee. You're the rescuer. You're supposed to listen to what I have to say. And then he's fucking like blowing her a raspberry. And they still like reconnect. Like, hey, you haven't changed at all, Ichigo, despite how strong you've gotten.
Bro, there was so many good Rukia expressions in that scene. That was some Rukia Kina, which good to see because it's been so long since we've had her interacting with the gang. But yeah. I will say the show is still hidden for me. because like I said, not a lot happens in each episode, but the cumulative feeling of seeing all these episodes come together to form like this more cohesive whole, and like it just feels nice to watch it all come together. There's like something uniquely addicting about it where, it is like popcorn. I watched all 10 episodes of this block in a single day with like only one break to get some snacks. Like it it was not a challenge to get it down. I went into the binge being like, okay, I'm gonna split this across 2 days because I have stuff to do. And then I watched Bleach instead of doing the stuff I was supposed
Well,
to do.
you
So
heard
there
it
you
here
go.
first, viewers. If you're wondering why the strangulation video doesn't come out as fast as it could, that's because
I was
Bleach
too busy watching
Bleach is on the bagel brain.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm bleached bagels. But yeah, like the characters, they're still fun. The fights are still fun. There are some actually like legitimately interesting moments. The stuff with I'd say like the internal politics of all the captains and whatnot and specifically the murder of Aizen is like the most genuinely interesting that Bleach has been. Probably across its entire run. That whole episode was like some of the best plot development that we've ever gotten from the show. And Chad's backstory, those are like I'd say the two peaks of this block of episodes where it's just like, these were legitimately amazing episodes, and this is more of what I want from Bleach as opposed to Ichigo getting all the powers in an instant by just getting knocked down and fighting his spirit self or whatever. I guess we could go into them because they're both really good episodes and moments.
Yeah, I wanted to take this time since you brought it up to talk about the whole Aizen subplot that's going on in the background, because it is one of the things that is keeping this arc. It's that thing we were talking about from the last podcast where Bleach is doing slightly more than the bare minimum to keep your engagement, and now it's trying a little harder by having this whole murder mystery going on of, hey, we've established that the squad captains, the 13 squad captains are like the biggest, the bosses of Bleach, at least in this arc. And these are guys you don't want to, you can't take lightly, you don't want to fuck with. And one of them's dead now.
Yeah, so this dude Aizen, he's been sleuthing around. He's been, looking, trying to see like what's this deal, because Rukia is getting killed when that normally wouldn't be the case, and clearly, well, something's fishy, and everyone's pointing the finger at Gin Ichimaru. And there's this idea that like most of the captains, or at least a significant amount of them, feel that like Ichimaru, he's obviously behind it. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, fucking look at the guy.
I mean, yeah.
He could not look more stereotypically Orochimaru evil if he tried. He is probably Naruto Orochimaru's like distant cousin.
But even if we put
brother.
Appearances aside, it's like he just got the bad vibes, Everyone is like, they know, but because there's no proof, it just like he can't be fired or kicked out from his position or imprisoned, and like everyone knows he killed well, not everyone, but a lot of people know, like, hey, you almost certainly killed Aizen. We know that this is what happened. And there's this one captain that even tells Genichimaru, like, I know you were about to kill Hinamori right there.
Yeah, that was Hitsugaya.
Hitsugaya, it tells Hinamori, like, or not Hinamori, but tells Ichimaru, like, yeah, you were about to kill her, and he doesn't deny it. To my memory, there's like this feeling, like, this mutual understanding of, yeah, I know, but you can't do anything about it. You don't have evidence. I'm just being cute, old Ichimaru. I'm very
innocent,
cute,
ooh,
adorable. Yeah. Nothing to see here. And that tension is interesting, and also Aizen's death scene is just raw. God, this is so evil, but it works so well.
Yeah, he doesn't just
Hinamori-
like die and left to like at a corner on the floor. While Momo is like on her way to a meeting that she's late for because she stayed the night prior at Aizen's to talk about the whole invasions going on, and so when she's taking the shortcut over to get to the meeting on time, and she like sees Aizen's body nailed to a building with a sword through the chest and like blood pouring down the front of it. And she's just fucking horrified.
I mean, even more than that, they set up this romance, or developing romance, between Hinamori and Aizen right at the last minute. And, Hinamori's like, oh, can I watch you write? He's like, sure, I don't mind. She's in his room. And, it's, like, I was getting kind of
I would consider like a more of a one-sided romance. I think Momo might have feelings for Aizen, but I don't think he would reciprocate them, because I think there's, even with like their Soul Society age limit, like extended ages, I would imagine that Aizen is just like more adult than Momo is.
I mean, do we know how old Momo is? Because, I mean, I didn't get the impression that she was, like, a child or anything.
Well, if we're to believe, like, with Rukia, how she has, like, the same appearance as Ichigo. It's like, Ichigo and his friends, but is actually, like, few centuries old. I assume it works the same way for all the other Soul Reapers.
I mean, yeah, I assume that. I don't really know what you're getting at. I'm gonna be real with you.
I'm just saying, like, even if we like throw that away, it seems like Momo is of like teenage Soul Reaper range, and then Aizen's like a grown man.
I did not get that impression, but we'll put a pin in that, I guess.
Okay.
But anyway, and by the way, Momo like freaking out completely, like losing her shit as
she
soon
was
as
ready to
Aizen
fucking
dies.
take Ichimaru's goddamn head off.
That was so endearing. I loved that. Because, like, it's clear that what she's doing isn't correct. Like, even though everyone knows, like, Ichimaru did it, you can't just get the guy. You can't just kill him right there on the spot, because there is no proof. That is not the responsible thing to do.
Fuck responsibility. He killed her husbando. She demands blood for blood,
which is awesome. I love it. And
that was a based Momo moment. A moment, if you will.
Moment. There we go. Certified moment, TM. But, she ends up getting locked up for it just temporarily, and then she gets like this message that Aizen wrote because he got the feeling that he was gonna kick the bucket. And although we don't know what's there yet, we get the sense that it is evidence, rather damning evidence, considering Momo's expression upon seeing it, that Ichimaru, he's doing something fishy. And presumably, this is the part of the story where it turns into a Zaragoto-esque locked room murder mystery. And it's gonna have like a bunch of plot twists and reveals. It's not gonna do that, but I can wish. A man can dream.
Guess I'll just have to wait and see.
You go on?
I was gonna say with all of the we get a little more insight to more of the captains and their lieutenants, even outside of the Kenpachi, who we're gonna have the big fight discussion later about with Ichigo. We get some. Let's go down the list and see which ones we get some focus on. First we get Kyoraku, who is the captain that fights Chad, and he's like a pretty chill guy. He would rather drink with the invaders and like talk about shit, shoot the shit rather than fight. But he will fight because he's a captain.
Him and presumably his girlfriend. I mean, he sort of like makes advances on her, and she simultaneously rejects and accepts them. So, there's clearly something.
I don't remember her
on.
accepting them.
I mean, not outwardly accepting them, but like they're clearly buddy, right? Like they're closely close. Maybe they're just friends, something like that. But anyway, you know, like their dynamic is so fun. She's like sort of the uptight one and he's the laid back one, but like she for whatever reason like throws flowers on him while
for a
she's
dramatic
like,
entrance.
yeah, this like or dramatic entrance. And then when she keeps on doing it, and the laid back guy is like, "What the hell are you doing? That's enough." And then she just dumps the entire thing on her or on him.
And throws the bucket at him.
Yeah, it's great. I love them.
And
And
it's the little character moments that make you appreciate them much more than if they're just just stoic badass sword guys. Not to say that they can't be cool outside of that.
yeah, and I also like the dude, hitting up Chad for some drinks, and then he's like, "No, I'm too young," and he's like, "Oh, that's an issue." But
Yeah,
this is where
Chad
we
is
get,
forever the most goodest boy.
yeah, and we get this flashback of Chad's backstory. I've been chomping at the bit to talk about it because it parallels nicely with another episode that I had an issue with. And, this is like Chad's backstory is one of the best moments of this block of episodes, whereas the other episode was one of the lesser, not good moments. Where, we have this fight, and Chad's like against the ropes, and then, he gets this running charge going. He's about to, sock him in the face. And as that happens, we get the flashback, and it takes up about half the episode. And as a kid, we get more insight into Chad's past of living in Mexico, with his abuelo, and back in the day, he was like super like self-obsessed and like just got into fights randomly.
Just because people
Super
fucking looked at him wrong.
standoffish. Yeah, just completely a brat. A complete brat who threw his weight around because he was stronger than everyone else and he could. But his abuelo was like, "Nah, fam, that ain't it, chief." And, there's the scene of him, running from some bandits or like, I forget who exactly it was, but
I don't think it were
I think
bandits.
not
I think it was
but,
just like some guys he was
some
fucking
guys
with.
he got in a fight with. Yeah,
Yeah, and they had like sticks and something, and they were gonna beat the shit out of him because they looked like they were overpowering and outnumbering him. But then his grandfather swoops in and is like, do what you gotta do, and he just like stands there and takes all the blows. And finally, when they're too tired from wailing on him, he just sinks to his knees and like bows in front of him.
Yeah, and he dispels that conflict without any violence, and he gives Chad this little necklace, this amulet, and he's like, "Bro, this is a gift from me to you. Violence is bad. Take it, son." Yeah, that's exactly the dialogue that he said, word for word. But anyway, and we get more into his friendship with Ichigo, which by the way is so endearing. Like, I wish I saw more of this side of them back in the human world, because because Chad won't fight for himself. That is his specific policy. He will get violent for other people, just not himself. And so Ichigo, they get into trouble a lot. Chad, because of his big stature, people are like, "Oh, he's hostile. Quick, we're gonna fight him right now. Throw some hands." And Ichigo, because of
He's
his hair,
foreign looking. We're xenophobic.
Yeah, we're racist. And so, they get into a lot of fights. And what Ichigo says is, "Listen, we're going to fight for each other. Because, we're getting into all these scuffles. It's not our fault. But listen, like, I know you can't fight back for yourself, but if it's for me, well, just fight for me, bro. And that way, we can make it in this world." There's the scene of Chad getting captured and tied up to a chair, and all these guys, and Ichigo comes to the rescue. They're like threatening to tear up his amulet. Be like, "Hey, this is worth more than your life, huh? Yeah. Well, guess what I'm about to do? That's right, I'm gonna get payback." And Ichigo, comes in at the last moment and says the ambulance quip that you were talking about. It's just like this really great backstory that gives us more insight into who Chad is, and gives us an endearing dynamic and some emotional resonance with this amulet. And then he loses. you just it looks like he's about to have his shonen comeback, and then he just falls on the floor. He gets owned.
Yeah, that does lead me to one issue that I've been having with the Bleach fight so far. That kind of compounds with the whole Ichigo just pulling power-ups out of his ass complaint from earlier. It's that the fights don't ever like employ strategy. Like there's no clever use of powers to overcome like weaknesses or skill gaps or anything like that. It's just instead of employing clever tactics like in a Naruto or a One Piece, the solution to a Bleach fight is I'm going to hit him even harder. I'm gonna power up and I'm gonna hit him even harder. Which I know that fucking the smooth brains in the audience might say, oh, but Neon, you're a certified Dragon Ball Z head, and that's the solution to the fights in that show. Wrong. Only in some of the bad fights in Dragon Ball Z. I will admit that sometimes it's the case, but it's not always the case. Because in Dragon Ball Z, there's clever tactics to be used to try to extend the fight, or they use narrative events to at least if a fight is clear that it cannot be overcome, then the fight has to something has to happen in the narrative to alter the fight in such a way that it is both it respects the audience's intelligence and keeps the narrative pushing forward. Like, it would make sense for this to happen. Every time Ichigo seems like he's on the back foot, it just he just gets stronger. He just literally he cannot even cut Kenpachi. And I guess we could use this to go into the Kenpachi fight now. When Kenpachi arrives on the scene, he is just so far above Ichigo, and he's so disappointed that Ichigo is just this little runt that he's been running around all over creation for, that he's like, you know what, bruh, I will give you the first shot for free, and if you're strong enough, you can even make it a killing blow. But I know that your bitch ass, weak yee ass sword ain't gonna do shit, because when Ichigo goes to swing, it doesn't even scratch Kenpachi, and in fact, his hands bleed from the recoiling or some shit. And so Kenpachi just fucking owns him the entire fight until he has the the inner monologue with his sword. Or no, well, alright, to be fair, I think he focuses first. He's just okay, I just have to focus my spiritual energy and my spiritual pressure, and now, yeah, I've been able to cut you once. Oh, you have owned me. You've broken my sword in half. I am dead.
See, what and this makes it kind of worse, because what I thought was gonna happen was that we'd finally met the big bad that Ichigo couldn't overcome, and that we'd have a fight something like what Ganju had with the pretty boy, where it's about tactically running away. And I'm like, that seems like a cool, unique sort of fight where it's this guy is just too powerful.
I think that was the only
way.
fight in Bleach so far where anything resembling tactics have been employed.
Yeah.
And we're 40 episodes in.
True. But now I think that would have been so tense, because here's the thing. You need to, run away from Kenpachi, but then you need to get Rukia and run back. And how are you gonna run back when Kenpachi's already closed the distance? That was interesting to me. That thought of, oh, he's gonna get Rukia, but then Kenpachi's gonna be on that bridge. How's he gonna escape, man? And that, that was neurons were firing in my brain ooh, this is gonna be great. And then he just sort of pulls power out of his ass, and I'm like, well, fuck. that ain't what I was hoping for.
Yeah, now to be fair, I think his fight with Kenpachi is the best fight in Bleach so far, and I don't think it's a stretch to say that.
I mean, I'm not keeping a list in my head, but yeah, it's definitely up there. No, because Kenpachi is such like an overwhelming force, right? It's sort of like overwhelming force meets an immovable object, and you know he
Well,
has
Ichigo
a lot of
is a
stage
very
presence.
is a very movable object at first.
Well, yeah, at first, but by the end he is an unmovable object. But yeah, like his presence, you know, his design, his character, it all builds to create this like
He's a
interesting
scary,
fight.
intimidating motherfucker.
Yeah. And he's the one who's powerful enough to get Ichigo on the ropes once again. Can't even be cut at first, can only be cut at all when Ichigo like really focuses, breaks his sword in half. No, it's all good.
I like to imagine that Kubo is like in the studio trying to think of like, okay, what are all of the coolest like things I can do to make this guy like the most intimidating motherfucker of all. Okay, his design, he's got like he looks like he got hit in the face with a Looney Tunes explosion and all of his hair was like shot backwards, like cartoonishly. He's gonna have like a very grizzled face with a big scar running down his eye. He's gonna wear an eye patch. He's gonna have, like just like being near the characters exudes so much spiritual pressure that they're like, holy fuck, I can barely stand in his presence because he just has that much riz.
Dude, he puts like these bells on his hair that make like this barely audible noise in order to handicap himself, because it's like, oh, you can hear him coming. And he has this eye patch on his face.
Dude, the eye patch is the coolest fucking thing.
Yeah, it's cool, but it also eats away. Like,
I thought when he said that he wears the eye patch to give his opponents a handicap, I thought, oh, okay, he's just like making it so he has what's the term, like monocular vision? Oh yeah, he's not depth perception. That's the thing. So like maybe he lacks depth perception on purpose, but no, it's not just made of cloth. It's a fucking like in the Soul Society, like technologically designed to be like this little demon that feeds on his like soul energy that's constantly draining him and keeping him from full power. So that once he takes it off, then he like fucking go like he goes hard in the paint. His sword, his Zanpakuto, isn't even like that's his like sword's final form. Like his sword doesn't even have a name. His sword is just always at its true unrestrained form at all times because it's so powerful. Even if he exudes all of his own power, he can't restrain it.
Basically, fight good. Kenpachi is cool hell. I don't really have more to say. Oh god, I'm about to sneeze.
Oh god. What about his pink?
It was
his
so
pink-haired,
awe-inspiring. I just had to sneeze.
His adopted pink-haired lolly daughter.
I like her, and I like their backstory of that she lives in like this group of people who do nothing but kill people. They're in the worst parts of society. They're just a small little tribe in the forest, and then Kenpachi comes in, and at this point, neither of them have a name. And, they get to talking and bonding and all that. And, they eventually, Kenpachi gives the girl her name that I forgot. So,
Yachiru.
This is awkward. Yachiru.
And apparently he gave her that name because he knew a person named Yachiru who was like the only person he ever admired.
And he gives himself the name Kenpachi because that's the dude, that's the strongest captain in the Soul Society. Traditionally, the name is like passed down, and he fucking gives it to himself.
I don't think he's even like a captain at this point. He just like gives himself the name just like who the fuck's gonna stop him?
Which is raw as hell. I love it.
I also love how it's revealed that where we get a flashback. We kind of glossed over this. So we get a flashback in the first episode of this block with Renji and
yeah, I was actually
Rukia.
gonna get back to that.
Yeah, because... we could talk about it immediately after this. I just want to bring it up as a point of reference where we find there's 80. We've established that there's 80 districts of like the Rukon Soul Society, which is like where the souls live outside the soul capital of the Seirete. And if the first district is like where all like the rich people are, and then it goes poor as you go down, it gets poorer and poorer until like you hit the 80th district, which is like as poor and shithole as it gets. Renji and Rukia, we find out from the 78th district, whereas it's revealed that Yachiru is from the 79th district, and Kenpachi is from the 80th district known as Zaraki. So he fucking, not only did he name himself after, the title given to the strongest Soul Reaper, he then also named himself after the shithole, like, lowest part of the slums that he came from. So his name is, like, Kenpachi Zaraki, the strongest Soul Reaper from the shittiest place in the Soul Society, which is so fucking, like, Kino, raw, fire. It's, like, probably the coolest thing in Bleach so far.
But yeah, that is great. Basically, seeing their backstory made me legitimately care about their character and relationship, and that's what a backstory ought to do, which is where we get to Renji's backstory. And on paper, I like it, but am I the only one who felt like it didn't need to be a whole episode?
Maybe that my issue with it is that it came literally just as he's like been defeated by Ichigo. So it's like, hey, this character that is now, obviously because he's so prominent, he's going to come back later. There's no way this is a, throwaway character. He will become a part of the primary cast. To have his whole like backstory and relationship with Rukia established at what is essentially the very end of his arc in at least this arc, before he like might start a new character arc, it's a little cheapening to be like, okay, now you care about him, as we're like doing away with him. It's like you couldn't maybe put this like right in the middle of the fight, or maybe just before he fights Ichigo.
Yeah, that's also another aspect of it, because like Chad's backstory came in right as he was delivering the final blow. That's cool. That's Kino.
Yeah, like it gives you like the faintest bit of hope that if we're getting so much of Chad's backstory and like his reason to be now when he's like his back's against the wall and he's fighting a captain. So maybe you think just maybe he'll deliver the big strong half Japanese, half Mexican punch that'll put him down, but no, he gets the shit pushed in regardless.
And that's why, it's shocking. Well, not really shocking because I saw it coming, but like, impactful that he gets his shit pushed in. But, with this backstory, unlike Chad's, it takes up a full episode.
And now it feels like Kubo is like, hey, it is now the designated time in the story that is Bleach where I'm going to get you to care about Renji Aoburai. So like listen up, viewers.
I mean, I don't not care about him. And
I liked his flashback. It's just I feel like it was timed inappropriately.
Yeah, well, it was timed inappropriately. My main issue is that because it is so long, I was like, I feel like we could have... The core of the information was like, you could condense it, right? Like, I mean, I guess he's like trying to make you care on like the most basic of levels about, his time in the slums and, spent in like the dregs of society. My guy, you could have just flashed me those graves and I would have gotten it. Like,
yeah, like wait, how did their friends die despite being souls?
Do
they get like killed?
I feel like there was something established about like because Ishida does like it is established that he could have straight up killed a dude, but he chose to spare him. So that is a mechanic in this world. You can kill souls, or I guess just kill them regardless, even though they're already dead.
They do also establish like there's a weird way of hunger works where if you're a weak soul, then that with not much spiritual power, then you don't need to eat, and you don't starve. But if you are a strong soul that like does have a lot of spiritual power, then you hunger because you need something to like refuel yourself with. So I guess maybe I don't remember if they established them being of like high spiritual power though. I thought they only established that was the case with Renji and Rukia.
Uh, I mean, it wasn't established that they had high spiritual power. I mean, it doesn't really matter how they died. They just did. I imagine if it's all three of
I
the
guess.
graves together, they died simultaneously before Renji and Rukia went out to the
I-
academy.
I don't think it was simultaneously because there was that one rotating shot around like that bonfire barrel where they're like it's all five of them at first, but then as it keeps spinning, you know, the friends start to disappear one by one until it's just Renji and Rukia. So I'd imagine it's like over time they like started dropping like flies.
Okay, I do remember that shot now.
But yeah, the one cool twist about this though is that we've been told the whole time that, you know, Rukia Kuchiki is from the Kuchiki family, and she's, you know, the Kuchiki family is like one of the big noble families of the Soul Society, so she's like she comes from a big deal. We find out that she's actually from the slums of the Soul Society, much like oh god, excuse me, oh fuck. Much like Renji, Yachiru, and Kenpachi. And she grew up a poor kid just like them. But she was, when Renji and Rukia decided to become Soul Reapers so they can get out of the fucking ghetto and live a life of, you know, of luxury, Rukia is approached by Byakuya and the Kuchiki family, and for whatever reason, I guess because she's, like, so talented, they want to adopt her as their daughter and raise her as a Kuchiki. And Renji at first is like, it's like, hey, you know, this is a great opportunity for you, Rukia, and, you know, this is always what we wanted, so, you know, you should take this opportunity. You should become a Kuchiki, Rukia. But on the inside, he's like, I really don't want you to go because, you know, we agreed to do this together, but if it means that you will succeed in life and finally live the life that you've always wanted out of the fucking shithole ghetto, then I will not stand in your way as much as it, like, hurts me emotionally.
And he regrets letting her rather go to the Kuchiki clan because now her brother is done trying to kill her. And he, you know, at first he blames Ichigo for the whole thing. He's like, Ichigo, my guy, it's your fault. You know, she gave her powers to you. This is it's all your fault for getting into trouble. But by the end, he's, you know, like starting to blame himself, which also isn't exactly right. But, you know, the blame is off Ichigo now. You know, Renji is like, save her. You gotta save Rukia. I'm rooting for you behind the scenes, man.
And with that, I think the only thing left is with Kenpachi defeated, you know, Ichigo is saved by Yoruichi, who then reveals her, you know, sexy brown goddess form that should be, you know, studied in film class of how to introduce you know, the sexiest character known to man.
And then I passed out from sheer shock and didn't watch the rest of the show.
I passed out from lack of scoom. My walls used to be blue, now they are white.
But after that, you know, rather concurrent to that, Ganju and Simp Lord OnlyFans cuck Hayataro.
Hanataro.
Oh, Hanataro?
Yeah.
Hanatoro. Okay, or Hanataro. Something like that. I barely remember his name. I just call him the simp in my head.
He
But
is
anyway.
the heel simp.
You know, they're both getting to, you know, the tower together with Rukia, which, by the way, I do like that, you know, Ichigo has to, like, stay behind to fight Kenpachi, and it's Ganju and Hanataro who are the first ones who see him, because, you know, it's not what you expect. It's like a twist. But
yeah, but
anyway.
then there's another twist thrown on top of it, where it's revealed that Rukia is the one who killed Ganju and Kukaku's brother.
Well, I mean, it was kind of obvious from the beginning, but
yeah, well, yeah, it was obvious to the audience.
It's an inevitability.
It was obvious to the audience, but to Ganju, it's a shock. because this is the person who's like the whole reason he came on the quest was to be like, hey, I fucking hate Soul Reapers, but to see you risk your life for a Soul Reaper so much, I want to meet her just to see what the fuck like is her deal and why you care so much about her. But then, oh shit, it's the bitch who killed my brother. All right, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah, and she's like upfront about it, and even like, yeah, do what you want with me. Just you can kill me if you want. Like, she's taken full responsibility for it, just upfront. But another twist, Byakuya, and who the fuck was the other guy with Byakuya? I know there was some white-haired dude. I
think his name was Captain Ukitake. I think they only say his name once, and I only wrote it down because it was like the first time he like appeared. Like we see a shot of him like sickly and talking to his squad, but I think this is the first time he does something in the narrative.
Yeah, and so he's with Byakuya, and they're facing him down, and it looks like, well, Ganju's literally like, bro, we should just give up. Like, there's no way we're beating this dude. But Hanataro is like putting on the brave boy face, and he's like, no, I'm gonna fight him. And then Ganju's like, no, I'm gonna fight him. And then Ichigo comes in, and he's like, no, I'm gonna fight him.
And then Uryu and Orihime finally get screen time this arc, and then they swoop in and it's like, no, we're gonna fight him, is what would happen in the good version of Bleach. But unfortunately, Chad and Orihime get cucked out of the second half of this arc.
Yeah, Uryu and Orihime,
Uryu and Orihime, my mistake.
Once.
Not even, yeah, I don't think they even appear in, like, a flashback, unless it's, like, just to think about, like, Ichigo's friends. Like, but they, like, in terms of, like, they're actually being there, we don't see a fucking second of their progression, since the last time we've seen them. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That they are okay, and that they have been evading enemies. And, beyond that, we do not hear anything.
And, like, why? Why not even, like, a glimpse into what they're doing? I was waiting the whole time because, Uryu is one of my favorite Bleach characters so far, and now to see him, he had a fucking badass moment fighting that one Soul Reaper dude, where he pushed his shit in with his, fancy new, suit and bow, but now it's fucking radio silence.
Very sad, very sad.
I can only hope that, he and Orihime, do something at the start of the next arc.
I imagine they will. They can't go much longer without showing them. I mean, I just jinxed it, but they have to show. They actually were able to.
They were so good at evading conflict. They were able to evade conflict all the way up to the point where they could just watch. They can join Ganju and Hanataro in the peanut gallery to watch Ichigo do all the fighting now.
Yeah,
in true
they have
shonen
renounced
fashion.
Fighting. They've become pacifists like Chad. Well, even Chad does, deck some motherfuckers, but.
Yeah, with that, Yoruichi swoops in at the last second to prevent Byakuya from unleashing his, his Zakapakto's true form. And, he's got this fancy Sakura pedal bullshit that, cuts you down real fast, I guess.
It is an interesting power.
Yeah, Ichigo is able to see Byakuya's flash step at this point, but he is able to fight with him on par for a little bit. But Byakuya's like, alright, no more fucking around, now I'm gonna show you my true power. But then Yoruichi swoops in, and that's where we're left off with the Soul Society sneak arc.
Yeah, so we have finished the second arc of Bleach. Neon, I'm sure you're less positive on it than I am. What is your take on consuming Bleach so far? How does it taste?
Compared to the end of the first arc of Bleach, it is definitely gotten better. The Soul Society arc so far is definitely much better than the substitute Soul Reaper arc. But my overall thoughts from the last podcast that we did have been unchanged. We've had one decent fight now so far. and the characters like there's things setting up in the background, and I'm waiting for the moment where like there's enough going on in the background where we don't need to just rely on big like brainless action scenes. And I hate saying that it's brainless action because usually that's your prerogative, but it's only brainless in the sense of there's no like thought behind it besides who can swing their sword the hardest and the goodest. That it's missing that the spice and variety of a good shonen that makes a good shonen a good shonen. This is just it's relying hard on the characters and like the story going on, which is decent consumable popcorn entertainment. It was once again very easy to just throw these episodes back, and now that we're left off on this big dramatic cliffhanger of, oh shit, we gotta do this conflict on the bridge. How's it gonna go down with these two captains and Ichigo and Yoruichi, and Ruki is there too now. So what's gonna happen in the second half of the Soul Society arc? But as far as like, is Bleach a good show thus far? It's still like decent. If I were to score it around this part, it would probably be like, it could not be higher than a 7, but it couldn't be lower than a 6 either. It's like it's in that middling to okay tier where it's like it's borderline good, but it's just not doing enough to like confidently breach into that threshold where I could say, yes, this is at the very minimum a 7 out of 10.
See, I mean, my thoughts have been also completely unchanged since the last podcast, and that means that, once again, I can't really justify why I like Bleach so much, or what the mystifying quality that makes it so watchable is. I think it's just that it's cool and fun, and there you go. That's the end of why it's so
at this point, I'm like salivating to get you to watch Naruto, because like I want to see, like, if you're like this positive about Bleach now, when we're in, by what episode count is this, like 41?
41.
By this point, we've gone through what the fuck's his name, Zabuza. We've gone through the tuning exams. Like we've got the tournament arc. Like you'll be fucking over the moon for that show.
I'm gonna give Naruto a 10. I'm gonna become Narugod on Twitter. Yeah, it's like, I wouldn't give it any higher than an 8. Like, anything above an 8 is just reprehensible and you are mentally ill. But yeah, I'd give it like a solid 8. It is bizarrely fun to watch, and I can just like, if you asked me to watch 10 episodes today, I would do so without hesitation. It wouldn't even be difficult. It would just be like, yeah, it's fun. It is super duper watchable. I guess it just that it isn't complicated, that it is so simple. Maybe the appeal is that the fights don't have tactics. Maybe the appeal is that it isn't complicated. Who knows?
Are you like cuffing copium for Bleach right now? Or are you?
I'm trying to figure out why I like it.
Crunchy, you truly are becoming a Bleach fan.
I am, but the thing is, like, I don't even really know why. I'm genuinely curious as to
it's my theory all along. You are truly a shonen tard at heart, and this is just your like awakening.
My awakening, yeah. See, it's not even that I'm huffing copium, because I mean, I agree with what you say about the show. I'm not blind to its faults. It's that it has faults that makes me so curious as to why, because these are pretty fundamental problems, and I still like it. And that's what makes it so fascinating to me, where it's like, well, what's the X factor that's causing me to overlook all of this?
I can't help but wonder, this thought just occurred to me, if the fact that we've been, taking like comparatively now that we're trying to like keep Bleach to a routine schedule in the podcast rotation, if these like approximate month-long breaks between covering arcs is like helping with our appreciation of Bleach, and how burned out would we be if we just like Shinkai month this bitch and just like, hey, we're gonna do like cover Bleach week to week to week.
That would be an interesting experiment, actually. Hey guys, if you want us to watch Bleach for a month, we can call it Bleachtober or something like that. Yeah, just give us 1 million views, please. If we can justify it.
Yeah, if we ever encounter a season as like bone dry barren as winter 2023 again, you know, I mean, for the sake of the channel, hopefully that never happens again. But if on the black day that it does, we could do a Bleach month.
I would not be opposed to that. We can see like, will the bagel get burned out on Bleach? Will he turncoat to becoming a Bleach hater? There's only one way to find out.
And that way is to like the video, head on down to the comments to let us know your thoughts on Bleach, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast and other videos. Don't forget to subscribe to Crunchy's channel as well for the upcoming strangulation video for, you know, because as we all know, the Bleach fandom and the Zarigoto fandom is like, it's a Venn diagram. It's a perfectly overlapping Venn diagram.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're like two separate circles in space with no. Somehow I'm the 1 pixel of overlap.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've finished the rough draft of the script. It is 11,000 words. I hate YouTube. Why do I do this to myself?
Lori's always perfect will in fact never see the light of day.
Yeah, because I'm too busy writing about Hitoshiki and E gay sex scene.
Yeah, and your closet Slovenian femboy groom ranting on Patreon.
Whose name is the Tourist.
Yeah. Just subscribe to the Crunchy's second channel for the lore on that one.
We've confused everyone listening, but you know what? That's your fault. You're not caught up on the bagels lore.
It's more complicated than Dark Souls.
It is a wormhole. There's gonna be a down the rabbit hole video on it someday. It goes deep. It is like, it takes you to the 4th dimension, back, and then to the 5th. It is crazy.
And I guess on that note, that'll do her for this episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. Tune in next week where we fucking kill ourselves over Rent-A-Girlfriend Season 2. And don't forget to subscribe. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Bleached Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.
And remember, kids, always consume bleach.